like to call to order the City of Edgewater Firefighters Pension Board meeting. Today's date is June 13th, and it is 4 p.m. I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Justin Nichols,
Here.
David Blair,
Here.
James Binder,
Here.
Herb Epstein is not here, Ron Hayward is not here. We do have a quorum. Wanted to also let you know that the plan attorney Pedro Herrera is on the phone, as is our Salem Trust custodian rep Inez Garcia.
Good. All right. Well, thank you very much for showing up. I'm going to ask for any public comments. And let it be known there are no public comments. All right, moving on to approval of the minutes. If everyone has already reviewed the quarterly minutes from last meeting, does anybody have any questions, discrepancies, issues, things like that? So we'll move to accept the quarterly meeting minutes from our last meeting on March 14th.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving into new business. We didn't really have a whole lot under the new business part. I don't know, did you want to cover a checklist, or you want to do it under your section?
I have it under my section, but you can do it wherever you want.
That's fine, we'll just keep it there. Really, no new business that we have a whole lot of. Anybody have anything? Okay, all right. Old business from our last meeting. There's really nothing we're following up on. For once, it's actually no old business. All right, so we'll move right into the reports. I guess we'll start. Anybody have any urgent needs to get back, catch planes, things like that? All right. We will. I guess we'll just go off our list here with Salem Trust. Inez Garcia, our plan custodian. Did you have a report for us?
Hi, good afternoon. I don't know if you can hear me well. I mean, you guys sound a little far away, but good afternoon. I just wanted to do a brief little introduction. I have taken over as the relationship manager since Mindy has left Salem. So I'm just basically here to kind of listen in, see how things, flow in the meeting, and kind of get to know who everyone is as best I can. So I am hoping to maybe catch one of you at the FPCA conference this end of this month. If so, please stop by the Salem booth. I will be there. I'd love to meet you all, and hope to attend the next meeting and go over the pension portal, which is going to be our new option for our pension plan retirees to be able to access their information online. So it would be helpful to the plan administrator as well as everybody involved in the plan. So hopefully I can bring that to the table. We will also have some brochures with more information at the conference if you are in attendance. But that's about it for me. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. It'll be a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you.
Is that portal that you're talking about the same one that we've kind of been utilizing, or is that something different? Oh, that's the Salem Trust portal.
Right. Yeah. This will be.
It's the same. It's the same pension portal, right? I think Mr. mentioned you guys had kind of heard of it.
No. He's asking about this plan has a website where all of their plan documents are uploaded for the participants to be able to look at, whereas the Salem Trust portal, your portal, is for the retirees to,
see pay stubs and okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Understood. All right.
It'll be a little different. It'll be a place for them to kind of make any changes to information, view their information, as opposed to going to Michelle for most of the day-to-day stuff. So it'll be a one kind of stop shop for them to access information.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any questions? No? Mr. Kelly. All right. I'm nervous. I was actually a little afraid to open this when I saw it come in email.
Mm-hmm. Make you feel better.
It was what? Oh, wow.
definitely go down to the bottom, just talk about the bonds, just how they're operating for just for a second. You see that the very bottom of the page is one, ConAgra, 11 Tower, 349, all that's in red, that's all the bonds are paid. I bought a couple of those bonds, the ConAgra and the 11 Tower, last probably year and a half or so, interest rates were so low. I've always had a bunch of cash here. And so I kind of had to buy bonds just because I had too much cash. And you can see off the ConAgra, 98, and the other tower, 98 for the bond. Mature at 100. So we're going to get 100 when we mature in 5 or 6 years. Look at the value of that. 85 and 80, they're all 14%. So people say, well, we don't lose money in bonds. We lose money in bonds. So expensive is enough. And all the short lows to the value of bonds gone down. Look at the Freeport. I bought that years ago at a better coupon, 14 years ago, 95 and 70. Okay, so it has the coupon protection. It was bought years ago. So you see that as having got to the top of the bond list. I have one maturing this year, and then a handful maturing in 2023. So those mature, I'll pass them out in the higher interest rate environment. Stockholm, next page, field page. Started with Archer, Danny, and Foreman. So the portfolio to us has a ring of quality, and we've got to recognize how these names are. Again, those are the newer name doors. There'll be some food inflation. There's going to be some issues there that we feel like kind of touches the base materials food processing for them and those short things there. For the performance of seasoning companies, Procter & Gamble, shares last night was Lily's got a nice pipeline of leasing deal, and diabetes revenues, big, we lost some stocks, so we did overall kind of a balanced benchmark, which is 15% down, 15% down, 35% down. That's the -6 one. So -6 one's kind of a fence guidepost, and -49, I mean, it's something that hang around on the right side of that fence. You see in dollar terms, we started 20 million less. In the bottom box, you see we had almost 15 years ago, around 13 years. 3.9 million money's coming in now, 13.2.5. Another 15 years appreciated $200 million back. Keep in mind, in '07, right before the crash, supervisor was young firefighter, was 72.
Yes,
No
now.
swing bullets. That's where all the loss of pay and all the gray hairs come from. So baked in our long-term numbers is, it's a natural crisis. So hopefully we have a mini one here, and inflation with the Russian settles down, money kind of comes back together, settles down, and we have decent returns over the next 6 or 7 months. We look to find that there. Still on landmines, and I don't know when or where to call the bottom. We're a little surprised we've gone this far. It seems that's a pretty good the news out there. So 10 years, 12 years, really, we get a nice whip of inflation. The prices are moving, and now we got a big dip right there. It's going to take a little while to come down. But listen, market keeps going down. Target today just announced they got 15 billion in inventory, which is a lot. They're going to cut the price in half to get rid of the inventory. And that's not inflation. We are concerned that inventory will be built out, and then there's going to be some price issues. And so that's what the inflation. The Fed, I guess in some terms, you say, well, they were behind the curve. They should have been raising rates really 18 months, 2 years ago, right? Their advice is that we're going to reach. And so they could be wrong. I mean, they could be raising rates into a kind of inflationary setting environment. That's the guess. So, we think it'll go slow. We think we'll recognize that things are kind of rolling over. Most of the mortgage applications are off 77%. It's the largest mortgage apps in the history of the data. Home buying, new home sales are down. We're going to kind of sense it. It's starting to circulate, so that'll have inflation. And then it's a little quick thing here. So just jot a few names here. Coinbase, we don't own any of these. Coinbase, Telegram, DocuSign, Netflix, Facebook, Megabox, Bitcoin, Zoom, Tesla. Half those names you guys have probably heard of. All those were multi-billion-dollar companies. All those were darlings of stay-at-home clothes stock in the chains of the world. All of them are 70-90%. So everyone, stocks are all double digits. And hey, let me tell you something. The stocks you really haven't seen a little bit on the margin of it crashed. That's for so, we're trying to stick with quality. Common stocks are going to do what they always have been. It's just the last couple of years, I know Jesse's been on the longest, had a pretty good run. For John and I, he knows the truth of it is we're taking a change for a year or two. But we're just trying to smooth 7%. I think at the 15-year, do you have a 15-year number?
Not in the book.
But our 10-year number is 10. So you really got a little play there. The average, go back 6 or 7 years. We go super long term, so that's what it is. Big deal. So that's what question your time.
Yeah, I have a question for you, and you may or may not have. No, no. No, no, it's gone. The question is about oil, though. So the Ukraine and Russia thing, you know, do you think how do you see that actually impacting, you know, our supply and demand of oil? And I guess more importantly, the second part of that is if it's impacting it in a greater way than it seems like, through inflation, fuel, obviously transportation, logistics costs, things like that, passed on to the consumer at the end. Where's the end in sight? Do you see it?
That's a big food industry.
Mhm.
Everybody feels it. We all feel it. Daily we feel it. The Russia-Ukraine thing, I think we imported about 1 million and change barrels
Mhm.
into our reserve. We're releasing 1 million.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's kind of a net.
Mhm.
We think the biggest problem is steady drumbeat of no fossil fuels. So you're ordering, that means you're going to cover,
Mhm.
and you're sitting around the house. All you hear all day long is no fossil fuels, not in the deal, we don't want you to deal, we can't get a permit, we don't want you to have a permit. It's hard to spend money and be excited about oil and clear out of that here in the US. But I think that's probably going to have to change. You think about it, we're begging and asking Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, and Iran to call it through the pipeline. Okay, so why send tens of millions of billions of dollars over the next year to find out and say there's your carbon credit? So I
So,
think there's one.
okay.
Gas demand has just dropped 6%. They were all going to change their behavior. We're just not going to use so much. The kids are going to try to be very, very frugal with energy. And so we think demand will drop a little bit, especially if we go into a recession. And I think supply will start to continue to ramp up globally. Why? It's $110 a barrel. When was it was cheap? Okay, so it's sloshing around, it's coming around, and it's happening globally. They're getting out of the ground because of this tremendous, it's a great price. I think the Russia-Ukraine thing will hopefully end sooner than later. We're not much longer. But we'll be able to add to it. Look, India hasn't stopped buying from the Russians. Still total war. But it just seems like if the demand will drop a little bit and supply goes up a little bit, it's that last million a day, extra barrels. That's what drives the price.
So, kind of what I hear you saying is that the actual supply from Russia and that area, um, really is negligible in terms of a material drop that the U.S. is seeing, and it's more of a social issue in terms of increasing the cost of fuel.
I think that two things. I think there's an effect. The
Hmm.
Russia-Ukraine, there's definitely an effect.
Hmm.
Okay, but I think just as important is the posture and the policies in this country
Hmm.
that have hurt our ability. We were energy encumbered 2 years ago. We were exporting LNG. Look what happens.
And I saw that just recently, you know, some of the European countries, I think I saw a parliament somewhere had voted to ban all gas and diesel vehicles, after 2035. Do you foresee policy changes like that across different countries, affecting us here and how we invest?
That's a tough one. I think long-term fossil fuels aren't the place to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think fossil fuels are the place to be. You get to point B, maybe you're point A, you get to point B with the solar and electric, all that stuff. You need the energy markets to create wealth to invest in the green stuff. Right? You just can't destroy wealth in the entire industry and expect everyone to buy a green truck.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kelly. I'm going to ask a motion to accept the Bowen and Haynes report from Mr. Kelly.
I'll make a motion to accept the Bowen and Haynes report from Mr. Kelly.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Mr. John Fines from Anco. Sir, you're up.
All right. David did a great job explaining the portfolio, and I come in after and kind of show you how we did relative to your peers,
Perfect.
and show you what worked for us, what didn't, and how we're a little bit different than your peers you're going to see at the conferences and across the country. So obviously we have more U.S. Stocks on a percent basis than almost any other plan that's not only in Florida but also the country. As you just heard David go through the high quality stocks we have, lots of names we've heard, inflation protection. From this point going forward, I think we have a great portfolio. You'll notice in David's book as well that when the market has gone down, yes, stocks and bonds both went down, but on the stock side, we're still at 75%. So this board, I've been here a long time, but we know we're going to have 75% in stocks. And to be honest, when you go through tough times like this, you got to keep it there. And this board, going through that presentation, not scared. This is our long term, and I'll show you compared to your peers why that works. And we're going to have a year or two, that we look we're behind our peers, but when you add it up year after year, staying with this process, it adds up to one of the, if not the best performing fund in the country. So happy to see that we're still at 75, and now we didn't change it when it is tough to stay at 75. We're not at 60 or 65 because when it goes down, you got to be there for when it's going to go back up. So we don't know when it will, but at some point it will. One thing that I saw too was consumer sentiment came out last week, and it's at its lowest ever. So over the last 50 years, when the sentiment has troughed, so the bottom, again, don't know when that bottom will be, if we're there or if it's going to go a little bit lower, but it is the lowest ever. 8 times over the last 50 years, the market is up 25% from that point. So we might bounce around here. Everything David was saying that, yes, we have inflation, there's oil, there's geopolitical. For what the market has gone down, it shouldn't have gone down that far. So at some point, just when you hear people start talking that, Apple's at a certain amount, when these stocks get low enough, people are going to start buying again. And much like I'd rather be buying U.S. stocks than any other stocks anywhere else, pretty much. So I don't know when that bottom will be, but at some point it's going to get low enough where money will start to flow back in. So I think the best thing that we can do is just keep our posture. We know it's worked for us for at least a decade and more, and don't get scared. Just keep with the plan, and we know that eventually it will work out. Saying that we have more U.S. stocks, we also are light on the international side. So I don't know if you all talked to the police officers. They have a dedicated international growth manager, and I can tell you in 2 quarters it was off 12%. So that helped us by not having that. We do have exposure. David has a few ADRs. We do have exposure there, but not the dedicated growth that hurt a lot of plans. And then you're going to see in the bond portfolio. So we have our foot on the gas with the equities, but our bonds are more conservative. David mentioned he has one maturing coming up here this year. When that matures at 100, you get that money and you buy a bond that has a higher yield. So we have a lot of those bonds maturing, and because of that, you will see how much your bond portfolio outperformed. David kind of showed you, through last week, bonds were down over 10%. You all were down 7%. So I know we're still down, but that's huge in the bond market, outperforming by, it's probably even more today, by more than 3%. So that helped. And then the last thing that kind of hurt us, it wasn't that great, but real estate. A lot of plans do have private real estate. There is a leg effect there. So that was probably the only positive thing that was in the police pension plan. At 10% to have a positive when stocks and bonds are down. We didn't have that, so that helped other plans. But I think when you blend it all together, a little more aggressive on the stocks, more conservative on the bonds. We're going to have bad years every once in a while, but the market goes up, our portfolio goes up a lot more than it goes down. We stick our posture, don't get scared, and you'll see it in your long-term numbers here that it definitely has worked out. So getting into, I think just visually, it's a good on page 12 and 13. Again, Dave and I both talked about this, but you can see there the blue on 12 and 13 is how much we have in stocks. The gray is how much, gray and green, I consider the green cash as bonds as well. So we're basically 75% in stocks, 25% in bonds. And like I said, we determined, we know what the risks are. We also know the opportunities. And we have seen those opportunities, and we just got to stick it out when the market is experiencing the tough times that it is right now. Page 15. Again, visually here, we've thrown out numbers. David has shown you, when he started with the plan, 3 million, about 2 coming in, and then the growth. So visually here on page 15, you can definitely see that tremendous growth that this plan has experienced. So again, those positive returns over the long term that we've had is why your plan is one of the best funded plans for what we are, if not the best in the country. So again, visually here, tremendous success over the long term. And then just looking at the returns on page 18. So yeah, for the quarter, we are down 6%. Again, what we kind of should expect. Everybody's hurting this current quarter, hurting today as well. But fiscal year, this book is actually showing you guys are positive. That's pretty incredible. I will tell you that I have some plans throughout this quarter. The number that you're seeing a positive 1.3, they're seeing a -4 or a -5. So again, I mentioned things that are relative. Yes, tough quarter, tough day today in particular, but fiscal year. And then you can see on the 1, 3, 5, 7, and 10, as those positive quarters outweigh the negative, how they just continue to add up. So you can see there, even the 3 up almost 14, the 5 up almost 12, 7, 10, almost 10-year almost up net of fees 10% a year. And you'll see in the parentheses single digits 3, 1, 3, 2. So essentially you're beating almost every single plan, hundreds in Florida, thousands in the country. We're almost the best performing plan over almost every time period. So that's my general theme here is that, overall we have our game plan, it works, and you don't get scared when we go through tough times like we are this quarter and so far for this current year. And then just lastly, I'll close on the bonds on page 18. As we mentioned, shorter duration. Bonds are maturing now. Rates went up a lot, so David can reinvest those bonds that are maturing into higher rates. So when you do that, you can see that we, for the quarter, we essentially had the best performing bonds in the country. And then the last year, David's portfolio was ready for rates to rise. We didn't know when it was going to happen, and it's happened quicker than probably a lot of us thought. But it was ready for it, and you can see the outperformance so far over the last year. So again, tough quarter, but on a relative basis, we continue to do extremely well compared to your peers. So I will pause there to see if there's any questions on how we look or our allocations.
No,
Sorry, I got tickled there.
it's okay.
On the line chart on page 15, the big dip we had in 2019-20, is that from COVID or is that?
Yes.
That was COVID.
Yeah. Remember the market went down like 33%
Right.
in 23 days? Yeah, and you'll notice too, like obviously David mentioned, if you go all the way back to 2008, a financial crisis, you might be like, well, the dip looks bigger in 2020, right? Versus a financial crisis, but that is the power of compounding. That this line is almost going almost off the page, and that's we do have negative times in it right now, but those positive years that we've been accumulating over a decade, even more, 15 years here. When your portfolio goes up that much, even if it goes down to percent, the dollar amount is just larger. But still, just visually, you can look at it, and it's just tremendous growth.
Great. Any other questions?
Okay, so if you go to the back of the book, there is one administrative item that I do have to discuss, and I do hate doing it. But just a reminder, ANCO's fee is a flat fee. So we do not have a percent of asset fees. So obviously right now is awful timing. We just told you the market was down 4%. So that is perfect that I'm asking right now. But from time to time, we do have to ask for a little bit of a fee increase. Costs do go up. A reminder, the current contract you're under was from July 1st of 2016. I believe that at that time it was discussed if we wanted to have a 3% escalator at that time, so that little old John here would never have to come back and ask for an increase. It was decided that the board did not want to do that, so that's why I'm here today. So that was 6 years ago. So I will not go through the first page of this handout here. I think I just discussed all the success we've had. And to be honest, I think only one of you remember my predecessor from our firm that was here. And to be honest, I think the greatest value that I've added is that we've had conversations and that we stayed the course. To be honest, if we did not do that, your plan would be in far worse shape. So I'm not, obviously, David has done a lot of the work there, the stocks and the bonds and the returns. He's our only manager. I think there has been value. We have talked about passive and active, dedicated, international. We have talked about real estate, other asset classes. And I think the education part has been great. Just a unique situation here where we haven't implemented a lot of stuff. And I think just the teamwork there has been tremendous. And, I put in bold at the bottom of this page, just the 1, 3, 5, 7, and 10-year rankings has been tremendous. So I think it's been a great success. So the second page, kind of into the numbers, is that you can see here, and I kind of copied the top half of this from the memo that was presented in 6 years ago. And you can see there, 16.5, upper left-hand corner. The asset values on that date, pretty much that this was presented, was 10.7 million. That equates to, as a percent, 0.154%. Fast forward, so I just updated it. You can see there, yes, it is a $3,000 increase, 19.5 proposed. 6 years later, it was 20.7. Obviously, after today, a little bit lower, but the basis point has gone down to 0.095. So, yes, a bit of an increase, but also there, just as a percent of the assets, it has gone down pretty tremendously and is below 10 basis points. I know I work with a lot of plans, and I can tell you below 10 basis points is definitely below the industry average. So I do think that is still fair. Since we discussed it last time, and I'm not proposing this either, but we did talk about a 3% increase 6 years ago. And I kind of put that in perspective. If we had been on that path, and I would not be talking to you today about it because the increase would already be in place. But you can see each year what that would have risen to. And then the two far columns, if we had that escalator over the last 6 years, I could show you the savings on the annual by not having it. And then I added the last one, it's just the cumulative. So the 19.5 where it's at, if we were on that 3% escalator, it's actually still lower than what it would be coming up here, which it should be at 19.7. And then again, this board didn't like that from us, so we could guarantee that for another 3 years. It will suck. Obviously the last contract was guaranteed for 3 years, and I waited 6, so I'll probably wait longer. But again, guaranteed for 3 years. There's lots of inflation out there. I think that covers us. I think inflation will be here for a little bit, but our fee will not change for 3 years. So I think I can show you that the savings by not having the escalator, and it just forces me to come back every once in a while to ask for it. Assets have grown considerably. It's been a great partnership. I want it to continue, and I think as a percent of assets, the new fee it goes down compared to what was agreed upon 6 years ago. So I know it's not a fun conversation, so I'll open it up for discussion.
So we saved
And-
$200. Right on.
Well, I'd say you save more by not having it annualized. You can see there, and then you add them up. Yeah, but from where it is, yes, it is $200.
We've worked together, the board, we groups here
Mhm.
worked together.
Yeah.
Good. The typical thing was you mentioned the international manager, which I applaud against. It was a dedicated, just throwing the international manager in there would have had maybe 20% of the portfolio, $6 million. That's $6 million that run, let's say a few that were doing zero. International was
Well, I can, yep.
Yeah, I agree.
I can appreciate the cooperation, especially being a part of the old team. The cooperation here is great. So thank you, John, for everything. And when will this go into effect, or when would you like this to go into effect?
July 1st. So that's when the other one started, so I just kept it July 1st.
Well, first, I'd like to ask the board for a motion to accept ANCO's quarterly investment report.
I'll make a motion to accept the report.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And in terms of the fee revision, I'll ask the board for a motion to see who's in favor of this fee increase of $3,000 to a total of $19,500, from $16,500 to $19,500.
That's 3 years.
Yes.
Yep, for a guaranteed term of 3 years.
I'll make a motion for the proposed increase of $3,000 as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Yes.
Like I said, the 3 groups here, 4, everybody, I think it worked well, and I appreciate your business and look forward to the next 3 years.
John, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we need anything further in terms of that fee revision?
I'll get with John and Pedro to work on an agreement letter to
Amendment?
amendment, to sign.
Okay.
Yeah, and get that to you.
Perfect. All right. Sugarman and Suskin. Pedro, are you on the line?
I am here. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you fine. Thank you.
Okay. Excuse me. So just a couple of things to go over with you. I don't think I have anything actionable. So it's really just some housekeeping items. But as of just wanted to update you first and foremost, I guess, close the loop legislatively. So I had reported at your last meeting, excuse me, that there had been a bill that was filed that would have added COVID-19 as a presumptive disease for purposes of pre-retirement death or disability. However, it did not pass. It died in committee. I don't believe it was for lack of support, but really just I think it. I'm sure you guys have read the news or heard the sound bites, but there were some controversial issues, I guess, so to speak, on the legislative front, and so I think this got put on the back burner and just never really got taken off. So I would suspect that it's going to be refiled next year, but we'll obviously keep you posted. Other than that, however, there were no changes legislatively that would affect our plan during this session. Also coming up is July 1st. and as you guys are probably aware, that is the deadline for filing those Form 1s, those financial disclosures that we love doing each and every year. So I wanted to put that out on your radar in case you have not already done so. Please see if you can take care of that. Recall that you can now email it, so it's a little bit more user-friendly, or obviously you can always mail it. We do recommend certified mail, return receipt, or you can always hand deliver it, obviously, to a supervisor of elections office in the county where you reside. If you don't have the form, obviously we can get it to you. I'm sure Michelle can get it to you at the city clerk's office as well, probably has them available, or you can always just Google Florida Form 1, and I think I'm fairly certain it's the first hit that comes up. So any help you need, obviously, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help. If your financial picture hasn't really changed since last year, drastically or materially, you can probably just copy the one that you had last time. But, obviously any questions, please feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to help if I can. And then just lastly, I know Michelle's going to go over some educational opportunities with you coming up. So other than that, really, I had nothing else from my report.
Great. Yeah, and I think the Form 1 is also available on the Foster and Foster portal.
It is, and I actually emailed it to all you guys.
Yes, and I actually did mine today, believe it or not, because of your email. Yeah.
I have a website that I can check.
Okay.
And
oddly enough, though, there's this weird string of emails that happens when you do that. It's like a confirmation comes, like an auto confirmation, but then, like, personally, somebody forwarded it to another person, and then it like got forwarded twice, which was odd.
the email that I sent?
No. When you actually file the Form 1 via
Oh.
email, there's a weird string of forwards that kind of takes place, I think,
Yeah.
as they try to figure out where that Form 1 goes, I think.
Yeah.
So, thought it was very odd. Anyway.
Did you scan it and send it in, or is it fillable?
Not fillable yet, but I heard they're working on that.
It was fillable, actually.
Oh, all right.
Yep. And I filled it out and then just emailed it. Yeah, worked well. So cool. Thank you, Pedro. I appreciate it. Thanks for all the updates and the reminders and the offer to assist
Yes,
with
sir.
the Form 1.
Yes, sir.
Financial disclosure forms. I think we've kind of covered that, right? And then consent agenda. Does everybody have a chance to review the consent agenda for this quarter, or last quarter?
Yes.
Any issues with the consent agenda? If there is, we can pull out an item. If not, I will take a motion to approve the consent agenda as a whole. We don't have to do each and every one.
Not a big deal.
No, I need to fix that.
On Meredith's, it has a date that
I formatted it
it was
wrong.
probably 3,000.
Whatever her number is.
That
On
was,
that fund activity report, the very last one,
Just a format issue.
Oh, yeah.
I formatted her number wrong. I'll fix that before it gets submitted to all the people it gets submitted to.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
1924.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, when I insert a row, it should pick up the formatting from the previous row. Excel doesn't always.
Like 1,924 or 19,000?
No, it's 8840. 8,840.
Okay.
Or not even. There's no rhyme or reason.
Not even close.
Not even close.
All right. Do we want to make a motion to accept the consent agenda, except for the one item there that needs to be, which that's not really part of the consent agenda, is it?
It is. You guys
Okay.
are approving those payments.
Okay.
But I can tell you verbally that share plan distribution for her was $8,840 instead of January 1924.
Okay, perfect.
I make a motion to approve the document.
With the correction.
with the correction.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good catch, Dave. All right, staff reports, discussions, and action.
Okay, so at our last meeting, you all asked me to prepare a checklist, frequently asked questions, just to get some information together to provide to the membership as a way to help them prepare for retirement. So I took a first draft and added it to the agenda, and I just need you all to give me some feedback. Let me know what you would like me to change, add, so that I can, update that for you.
Like kind of talked before, if we can add, maybe right, it says, what if I leave the city prior to becoming vested? If we can add, what if I leave the city after becoming vested, but prior to normal retirement? Years and age.
Yeah, we refer to that as a deferred vested, so I'll add that. That'll be the next
Deferred vested, okay.
bullet item there, yeah.
And then what about the explanation of backdrop? We have backdrop, correct?
Do we have backdrop?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, I'll add that in there. And I'll try to keep it under 3 paragraphs.
Yeah. That's a fun one to explain.
Okay.
That's all I had.
I think it looks pretty good. One thing that I'd like to do is take it back to my shift
Okay,
and go, hey, do you understand that?
yeah,
You know what I mean? Because, obviously our knowledge with it, as we read this, it makes sense.
we
You know what I
know
mean?
the lingo.
And I understand, some of the things behind it. But for somebody who doesn't understand our ordinance as much, maybe hand this to them and say, hey, does this make sense to you? Do you have any questions about anything on here? And would you be able to explain it based on reading this?
Yeah, absolutely.
And just kind of see what they say. And it might actually expose, some questions as we work through it. But
Yep.
I think all in all, it looks pretty darn good.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So once we get all of the feedback, what I'd like to do is send it over to Pedro
Mhm.
and make sure that it's all legally correct, and then Pedro hopefully will have a chance to review it and, put his stamp of approval on it.
Yeah.
And then we can start to distribute it to the members.
Yeah, and then would we be able to get it as a link on Foster and Foster's portal?
Yep.
Because
Upload
I've
it
actually
there?
been trying to encourage members of the plan to utilize that
Yeah.
with questions, because I find that they'll ask me or find somebody else on the board, and I'll say, hey, have you looked at the portal yet? Oh, I didn't know there was a portal.
Oh, okay.
Oh, great. Well, good. Even though we sent out emails, we've probably done
I
several
know.
over the years. And so encourage people to do that, especially some of our new hires. We have a relatively large amount of new people.
Yeah, there are. And that
And-
just reminded me, I'm going to add another bullet point about the importance of keeping your beneficiary form updated
Yes. Yes.
and how to go about that,
And so this is a great starting point for the new people too, to kind of understand. And I know we have the summary, but this is interesting as well. This is an easy read.
This is in English.
Yeah. Yes.
On the quick question,
Mhm.
when to start the retirement process, like with Meredith Lyons?
Uh-huh.
Hers was kind of like almost unexpected.
Yes.
How did that go with everything?
It actually went really well, and there was a couple of things going on with her that were kind of different. So she wanted to purchase her buyback. She wanted to finish purchasing her buyback before she left. So we had to time that so that her rollover from her 457 to purchase, so we had to figure out what the balance was of the buyback and then get the rollover completed from her, I think it was her 457, get that done before she terminated employment. She had a name change. She had a lot of stuff going on. So it actually went really well. And I think we did all that in about 6 weeks.
Wow.
And then I actually just got her calculation. So once we had the buyback paid off and done, I had the actuary do a calculation for her normal retirement. So I'm going to send that to her, let her know that whenever it is 5 or 6 years from now, whenever she's eligible for normal retirement, to get with me. That reminds me. Do we have a provision that allows someone to choose their option in Meredith's case? Because the normal form is the 10 CL, 10 years certain in life. And I checked the ordinance and I couldn't find an answer to it. So would Meredith be allowed to make an option selection and then she could change it at any time prior to actually retiring and drawing a benefit? So I know she just got married.
Right.
Maybe she wants to choose, you know.
Right. Yeah, because she's in a case where she wouldn't be collecting for.
I think it's 6 or 7 years, I want to say.
And then she would be eligible for early retirement, right?
Correct.
Okay. Not in normal retirement in a sense, but
Yeah.
early retirement.
Eligible to draw a benefit.
Right.
Yeah.
Why is that 6 or 7 years only?
It's her age. I'd have to look at it. I can look at it.
Yeah.
I don't honestly remember what.
So she doesn't have 20, so she would collect it at 55.
Right, but she's saying like 30 years old.
Has to be timed then.
Maybe 25 years.
Let me see.
Yeah, she is younger than.
Young. And was she that young? Years?
Huh?
Was she there 8 years?
And then she purchased time. And I don't know if you guys impute. You guys are testing me now.
If you can.
No, it's fine. It's in here somewhere. There it is.
So it's 50. 10
Uh,
years of service.
So,
Yeah, she won't be 50.
yeah, 2034. Okay, so it's more than 6 years.
Okay. All right.
You know, about 6 years. I can count.
So it's time, but not age?
It's time. No, it's age, but not time.
Yeah. Okay.
So she will be. Yeah, she'll be age 50. Hang on, 55. Oh my God, she is young.
She's older than us.
20, 34. Should be 42. I don't want to say all this in public.
That's fine.
I don't,
Well,
I don't want to say how old she is.
Yeah. I'm sure. You know that. I mean, that's your
The point
department.
is,
Yeah.
it's several years before she can draw her benefit.
Right.
If she were to pass away before she started drawing her benefit, it would be the 10 years certain in life is the normal form.
So you're suggesting that in this case we have an amendment to our ordinance that would say that would give direction on this particular situation.
That would allow someone who's vested and can draw their benefit at a later date to make an option selection while they're waiting for their benefit to start
And then change it prior to receiving it.
if they wanted to.
I mean, that really has it's no harm to the plan in any way, shape, or form, right?
Nope.
I don't see why it would be a problem.
I've known that. Hey, Pedro,
Yes.
have you been able to hear our discussion?
somewhat. I'm just kind of hearing bits and pieces. It's
So
little
we
bit,
have a deferred,
muffled.
yeah, so we have a deferred vested member who is eligible to draw benefit many years in the future. And the question is, would she be allowed to make an option selection now, knowing that she can change it at any time prior to drawing her benefit?
I wouldn't see why not.
We have a form that I believe we got from your office. It was for another plan. And if you'd like, I can kind of email that to you. And it's a retirement option selection that has some language in it to that effect.
What does it say?
Something to the effect, hang on and I'll tell you. Got this one over here. That the member understands that this option selection is being made, but can be changed at any time prior to them drawing their benefit. Once they start to draw their benefit, they can't change it. It's irrevocable. So it's basically an option selection form, but it just has that added language. To reiterate that once they start their benefit, once they receive their first benefit check, that option selection is now irrevocable. They can't change it.
Now, my question would be, would we need to amend our ordinance to do that?
I don't believe so. Pedro, what do you think?
No, there's nothing. Excuse me. There's nothing that limits a member from changing their benefit election. Excuse me. The only limitation is that once benefits have begun being paid, so even while you're in drop, technically, you can still change your form of benefit. Now, there's some. I think in terms of kind of just in speaking with actuaries, I think they would prefer to not allow any change, even when a member is in drop. But that's not really the case here anyway, right? Here it's the deferred vested who's not going to begin collecting for many years. I think I heard. So in theory, they could change. They could select the benefit now, and then when they're going to draw, they can make a change up until that point. There's nothing. So there's nothing in the ordinance that would prevent that, and there's nothing in state law that prevents that either.
Okay. What would be the best way then to relay that information to the member during this retirement process? Would it be to put on our plan fax?
I don't think we should, only because I think that may confuse the issue. One of the things, because there's not going to be that many.
Right.
People are either going to retire or enter the drop. Just a handful are going to, when they terminate employment, they're going to leave this money on deposit for that many years and draw benefit in the future. I don't think there's going to be that many. So.
Well, I don't know. The fire service right now.
Well, I mean,
trying.
the form states, and the rule is that once you make your option selection,
Yeah.
and I can add that to here,
Yeah.
just the explanation that once you receive your first benefit, your first monthly benefit, that option selection is now irrevocable. And that kind of implicitly, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, if somebody wanted to change,
I think it would also be important to point out, if we're going to do something like that, to point out that likely there would need to have a new benefit election calculation done, and that's something we could confirm with our actuaries, and that they would be responsible for the cost of that.
Right, but you're talking about the joint annuitant change, right, Pedro?
Right. If they're going to change their form of benefit to whatever it may be, I would imagine they would need to do a new study.
Well, no, because this calculation that we're going to send this deferred vested member has all of the options on it. So it wouldn't. I mean, if she chose a different form of benefit, prior to her drawing her benefit, the calculation's already done. It's already there.
Then they would have to do another one. Every time they
No,
change it.
because
Well,
what
when-
she's
when
getting
she-
now
When
is
she
a
filled
final.
out that form, did she include a joint annuitant?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the calculation that I'm getting ready to send her is a final calculation. There's, we've got her final salaries. There's no other calculations to be done, and it's going to include all of the forms of benefit.
Okay.
Right, but if she wants to change and then not have the same joint annuitant, then she would have to get a new one.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, he's right. So,
And then similarly, I don't know, and this is something I guess for the actuary, I don't know if there's going to be different assumptions, if it's going to change in 15 or 20 years, where even the straight life might be different. I don't know the answer to that question. I don't think so, but
okay.
that was my only, I guess, point, is that we should, let her know that there may be a new form that would be required.
Right. I got you. I understand what you're saying now.
So if she was to add somebody who was younger,
right.
Then that would change that calculation.
Right. So the final calculation I'm getting ready to send her, she lists her husband as the joint annuitant.
Right.
And those numbers are based on that. So the years go by. If she comes back and says, hey, I want a different joint annuitant, then yes, she would pay for that calculation. We would do another final calculation for her.
Okay. So is that form available through Foster and Foster? Is it on the portal for somebody to be able to do that and send to you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. It's an option selection form.
Okay. And
Yep.
then also the beneficiary form is there as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So just knowing that there could be, and that would be what, like a $200 fee?
Right. It's a $200 calculation, $200 fee to do the recalculation. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Or whatever it costs at that point in time.
Right. Sure. Absolutely.
Okay, so on this, where it says upon retirement, you will be given several different options, benefit payment options to choose from. Upon retirement, am I allowed to choose a survivor to receive my benefit upon my death? So in there, I can add language explaining what we just talked about.
Okay. That'd be good. Yep.
Okay. So back to the original question, it went very well with Meredith.
Good. Thank you.
Didn't know we were
We
gonna
went
get
down a rabbit hole.
right. Well, it worked out. We figured out some
Right.
stuff.
Made progress.
That's right.
Well, thanks for doing that.
Yeah,
Gonna
no,
be
that's
good.
great. This is a great thing. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
This will be in their new hire packet, the other paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Michelle, did you have anything else?
Just the state report was approved on June 2nd.
Okay.
And the educational opportunities are the FPPTA, which is scheduled for June 26th to the 29th in Orlando. And I can't remember, have any of you guys planning on going?
I'll be out of town.
Okay. Okay. So, yeah, that's all I have.
Trustees reports, discussions, actions? Mr. Blair?
I do not have anything at this time.
I do not have anything at this time either, sir.
Okay. So then let's talk about the item that I had brought up. So one of our new guys had asked about buying time back, accredited service, and how that would go. And are you able to pull up our ordinance in that portion so the other board members can see? Do you have that ability?
Not on here. I don't believe.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kelly.
Safe travels.
No, because you guys, they didn't put you on the sheet, though.
I can pull up your ordinance if you need anything.
Well, I was just going to do it for so we could kind of look at it, the members could look at it and understand what I was talking about. But basically, the question was, can a member who was part of another fire department purchase time back when he was only a volunteer at that other department? And, when you look at the ordinance and how it's worded, it doesn't really specify. It just says a firefighter. But the way it's worded with it says something to the effect of you were a volunteer with Edgewater. It almost sounds like you couldn't be a volunteer anywhere else. But it doesn't necessarily say that either.
So and I can jump in, and I'm happy to kind of talk about it a little bit further, but I took a look at your ordinance, and so I think if you were asking me, I would say that you could buy back prior volunteer service with Edgewater, but you would not be eligible to buy back volunteer service with another municipality agency.
Okay. And that's kind of what it sounds like when you read it.
It specifically allows for volunteer firefighter service with the city of Edgewater. But the fact that it doesn't refer to what it excludes volunteer service other places by essentially referring to it as just firefighter service. That's my basis for saying, for essentially saying it's not permitted.
Right. Right. And we might look at that. I mean, because in this particular case, this gentleman was from an area of the country where it's all volunteer. I mean, a career department is 150 miles away. You know what I mean, from the closest city, and so they serve their communities as volunteers as part of their normal duty. You know what I mean, and so that's kind of why I was thinking and questioning it. But that obviously we're gonna lean heavily on what your opinion on the ordinance is, Pedro.
I mean, I think, ultimately it's up to the board, right, to interpret if there's any kind of an ambiguity in the ordinance. I think it's one of those situations where I think, to your point, it's not specifically excluded, but and I will say typically volunteer service is not recognized for purposes of purchasing prior service. However, I think ultimately, and we could probably have the actuary confirm this, but I would say that if the member is contributing the full actuarial cost of that service, then there's no detriment, right? There's no harm to the plan itself. Mm-hmm. So it's really just a question of providing flexibility or additional options for the membership.
Right. Right.
I think it may, if that's the direction or if that's what the board would prefer to do, I don't know how many folks are even would be involved in this kind of situation. I would imagine it's by the minority, but we could obviously propose a minor amendment to the ordinance just to clarify it. Again, I don't believe it would have any kind of cost impact because under these circumstances, members are paying for it anyway.
Right.
So there wouldn't be any impact to the city, from a fiscal perspective.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, with the state of fire service in Florida, and lack of people wanting to get into this field, we've actually been looking and hiring people from other states. In fact, I think the last 2 people that we got were from another state. So had roots here locally, but previously resided somewhere else and practiced in other places. So might be something we have to really look at. And if it is providing an option, maybe a benefit to the department and to the member. So I guess with that said, I guess we could take a, Pedro, do you think it would be appropriate to ask the board? I mean, is there any discussion, any further discussion on this? What is the board's opinion? Other members, Jim?
Would credentialing come into play at all? As far as our area's credentials, like
Right.
pro board, stuff like that,
Right,
compared to that facility that they were at?
right,
Is that something that needs to be looked at?
right.
I agree.
What would constitute a firefighter?
Firefighter two,
Right, so pro
Certified.
board certified, or state certified
state certified.
firefighter.
Because I know there's some volunteer departments where, all right, you're driving the truck, you have no
Right, experience.
training. Right. So that's just something.
So I believe our
Okay.
form says, I want to, before I speak out of turn here, but I believe it says something to the effect of, where's the buyback form?
I think if the board is gonna go down this route, and state statute has a similar provision, where state statute was amended, 175, Florida statute was amended several years ago to provide, for the ability or the option of local plans such as ours, to provide this, prior service buyback. And so it allows for military service, or firefighter service with a different employer, that's either recognized by the state fire marshal service, or the firefighter has to provide proof to the board that the prior service is equivalent to essentially the definition of a firefighter, right? Which is kind of what the fire marshal says is a certified firefighter.
Okay,
So I think kind of piggybacking off that last piece, I think to the point that was just, or the question that was made, I would agree, and I think it's probably the best interest of the board to administer it, so that if someone is going to look at purchasing volunteer service, apart from the city of Edgewater, which is already allowed by your ordinance, that we would ask for some sort of proof that the volunteer service in this other agency or with this other agency is equivalent to what firefighter means, here in the state of Florida.
okay. I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. And that would leave the burden of proof on the person wanting to purchase it.
That would be on the member, right? And then the board can, either accept it or not. It'd be the board, ultimately, it would be our decision as to whether or not we think it's satisfactory or not.
Okay. All right.
But again, I think with the under the with the safety net, so to speak, that is not going to cost the plan anything one way or the other. When you buy back service, the members essentially trading dollars with the plan, right? I'm buying back service, so I'm giving the plan X amount of money now, and then the plan is going to refund it to me, if you will, in the form of a higher monthly benefit.
Right. Doug's not online, is he? Okay, perfect. What would we need to do to move forward with really looking at this language? You think we would need to amend our ordinance or put in something in our ordinance that specifically would outline this?
I think it could be a very minor amendment. I would just want to add in to that section, which is I just had it up a second ago. So it's Article 1, Section 1.02, which is the definition section, and that's the portion that has an accredited service definition. It has some of the limitations that we're talking about. So I would just want to, it would just be a couple of words here where it says a firefighter may purchase up to a combined total of 5 years accredited service for voluntary firefighter service with the city of Edgewater, military service prior to employment, or prior service as a firefighter for some other employer. I would maybe want to add prior service as a firefighter or volunteer firefighter for some other employer. Something to that effect, just to make it clean and consistent.
Yeah, a certified firefighter I mean, other states might not have one and two.
think it is. We'll have to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, certified firefighter with a career or volunteer department, I guess would be.
Do you guys
Right.
get like a certificate or something like that? Some kind
Yeah,
of paperwork?
but the problem lies is it's not a
The only
national.
question there is in terms of adding the certified part. Sometimes for the volunteer departments, they don't go to the certification program. So,
Yeah.
you know, it just may be, we might be limiting it without really, you know,
Right.
we're giving them an option that doesn't really exist because they don't get certified anyway. So that was my only hesitation with
Yeah.
you know, adding the certification requirements. But we would have language similar to what's in the statute, which essentially just, you know, requires the member to provide proof that it's an equivalent service.
Well, you know, and kind of how it works in the fire services is, you know, here in the state of Florida, obviously we get certifications certified through the state of Florida. Our requirement is that of one that meets a national requirement as well, which is called the Pro Board. And the Pro Board is a nationally recognized certificate. It's what the military kind of certifies their firefighters in as well. And many other states use the Pro Board certificate as an acceptable alternative. You know, I feel like if somebody had a Pro Board, if their state met the requirement of the Pro Board, that would be sufficient for the state of Florida. You know, I mean, it'd be tough for the board to sit here and preside over somebody that brought in you know, wanted to discuss their personal training records and, you know, I mean, all that kind of stuff, and how that would actually apply to the Florida certificate program. That would be lengthy and very and probably difficult to do, I would imagine. I wonder, is there a way that we can simplify it by saying, you know, gosh, I don't know that they meet a certification process that is equivalent to Florida State firefighter 1 and 2 certifications or Pro Board, something like that. I don't know if that would make sense or be appropriate. I mean, I guess we could get into quite a lengthy paragraph here if we let it.
So will we just dive into it? And
I think just for purposes of the ordinance, you know, while we want to be specific and we want it to be easy to administer, right, from the pension plan's perspective,
Right.
we also kind of it's the damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Where you want to be specific but not too specific, because then you kind of constantly have to go back and revise it, or oh wait, that's not what we meant, or oh wait, that's too restrictive and now we can't do this.
Right.
So I think maybe in terms of a policy, however, the board could look at adopting a policy, you know, for purchasing prior service that we could describe it with what you just said, right? We could describe it with, you know, certain types of certification would be equivalent and acceptable. You know, certain kinds would not. I mean, I don't know. We can dig into it a little bit more. But I would suggest that maybe we have that more as a board policy. That's easier to change.
Right.
and more flexible than putting it into the ordinance, which is you know, a more challenging change.
All right. Okay. Well, let's.
But you know, that being said, we can do it however you want. I mean, obviously, we can revise the ordinance and put in there. You know, if we know kind of what you're saying, if that's other certification form, and you know, we could certainly put it in as part of the ordinance, and then we have it there.
Right. Yeah, I think that's good. Let's
Pedro,
this literally came up today, so there hasn't been a ton of thought put into it in terms of lengthy conversation or thought put into it. This is what I suggest is that we all think about it. If we put it as an agenda item on our next meeting,
if you'd like, I could draft a sample amendment for your next meeting, and then we could you'll have it in front of you, and we can discuss the language.
Perfect. That is absolutely perfect.
Okay.
Yep. And then we can figure out how we would administer that as well. I think that's a good benefit for our plan and for new hires. It could be either one. Jordan. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be becoming more and more likely that we're getting people from other places. Okay, great.
What's the one for the prisoners, the firefighters,
Oh, yeah.
the CCC,
Certified.
California Conservation.
Right. Well, great. Excellent. Any other discussions? So we gave ourselves something to do for our next meeting.
So this is Pedro again. I apologize. My only comment would be, and I know we're not there yet, but I think that the firefighters, you guys are going into collective bargaining negotiations at some point soon.
Yes, that's correct. October would be the.
Yeah. So I would say that, I think this, and I'm not the labor attorney, but I think that this should be something that just to put it on the union and the city's radar. That the board is something that we're considering.
Okay.
And it should be something that is addressed as part of the bargaining. If it's if it's something that is of interest to both sides. Again, it's a no-cost item, so it's not really anything material. But nonetheless, I do think that it would require collective bargaining. So we would just to put it on everybody's radar so that when negotiations begin, it's not overlooked.
Perfect. That's a great suggestion, Pedro. Thank you. I'm just taking some notes. Okay. All right. Great. Any other discussions?
Sure.
Nope. All right. Michelle, you good?
I'm good. I have nothing further.
All right. Pedro, thank you so much for the input. I appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing that draft next meeting, and we can really dive into that. That'll give us some good things to talk about. If there's nothing else,
Yep.
I'd like to go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
Aye.
Somebody call, make a
Motion to
make a motion. Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Pedro.
All right.